Aloha and welcome back to the cockpit. Really quickly, instead of going through and doing a flight, I thought I'd actually walk you through, do a little mini tour, if you will. There's still a couple little parts I've got to do. There's a facade that's going to go up. It's actually going to go up and come out, so I can actually stand as I'm getting situated. And there's a facade that's going to go in the back underneath to hide the wiring. Other than that, it's pretty much done. I have been debating about false sides, but I think I like it the way it is, so I'm probably not going to do that. But without further ado, I'm going to scoot past this chair, grab that camera, and bring it forward. And I'm going to leave the light on so you can see as I walk you through. So without further ado, a tour of the finished cockpit. Alright, so we'll start with the facade we have here. This is just really thin plywood with some trim on the back that I got from Home Depot. Nothing fancy, with like a fake vinyl material. I'm gonna put another piece of trim to hide it up here. The monitor here is the exact same as the monitor here. They're both Vizio 4K monitors, but they are the budget 4K monitors. I paid I want to say about $235 a piece plus free shipping. Now, how did I get a 55-inch TV at those prices? 4K, well, I'm retired military. The Air Force Exchange was running a sale, and they have free shipping. So that middle one there is actually it's about 6 years old. It was one of the first 55-inch Sony 4K TVs to come out, and I got to tell you, it's lasted. It's awesome. So now let's go top down, if you will. Here, and I will, just so you can kind of see it, is a compass, right? Now, why would I build this compass when I have that compass back there? I wanted a physical compass. I built this a while ago. This compass was actually built based on Captain Bob's design. Awesome design, downloaded everything, including the, it's not really a sticker. It's kind of like packing something. Label, tape, whatever. Printed it out. Getting the scale right was a little hard because my printer didn't have a scaling option. Then we can come into the glare shield, which is nothing fancy. It is reinforced plastic that you can buy. There's sheets of it. What I did was I put the front part on with spray adhesive, and then I put, this is a cheap little LED strip you can get at like Walmart, and I found one with a dimmer. So what I did with that was I put it up here. There's actually zip ties, you can see here, and there's adhesive on the back of this as well, holding it in place, but strategic zip ties as well. You can see them there and there. And it also comes down to here. So you can see I can dim it. Now, I mentioned there was these were dimmable. What I did with that is I dismantled the knob that it came with and 3D printed what looks like the knob out of a Cessna. Now, on a real Cessna, this is a two-part knob. The inner part here and the outer part would actually rotate separately. I didn't do that. It's just one knob for me. But it controls my glare shield and the pedestal light. So you can see, I can dial it all the way down and turn it off. I can turn it all the way up. And again, it does go down there. And that little visor lippy thing there was just 3D printed by me. So nothing super fancy, but it works pretty well. The next one you're gonna see here, which is right here, panel lights, is at maximum. You can see my RPM right there, my tack. And you also see it on my engine gauges. Now my engine gauges are based on an old Captain Bob design. He did for FSX and something else. And I was able to build those, but when I built them, you'll notice they're a little off, right? I mean, this one's kind of shifted a little. This one's not. I eyeballed them when I built them together as a module, and I never should have built all 4 of them as one unit. I should have built them as small separate units, but you know, you live, you learn. I then wrapped LEDs around the plastic, and it kind of lights in, so it does light up. Now, unfortunately, what I learned after I sealed this all up was I didn't do a good wipe down of the backside of the glass. So you can see here, there's still some dust and crap in there. But again, you live and you learn. Here, this is a 16x2 LED running in Mobi, or LCD, running in MobiFlight. And I didn't have the OAT, and I didn't know how to really build one, like a real one. So I took this and I put the temperature. Now by default, Microsoft Flight Simulator wants to put it in Celsius. So in the transform area, I just did the, you know, multiply by 1.8 and add, was it 32 or something like that? I did the equation to shift it over and turned it into Fahrenheit. And this is the voltage that it reads out of the aircraft. So that's what Microsoft Flight Simulator is telling everything right now. Air Manager is running in the background. And depending on how you look at these gauges, you'll see either the screen behind it, or you won't see the screen behind it. I built this originally for analog gauges, and my analog gauges didn't work quite as well as I had hoped. I couldn't find good designs for these, and this guy over here was quirky. So I won't say I gave up. I'm still pondering the idea of analog gauges, but I wanted something so I could fly now instead of 6 months from now. So there was enough space for me to drop in a 15.6 inch monitor. Now it's a thin monitor, it's a touch screen that I'm not using the touch screen on. And these knobs here, I'll zoom in a little. These were 3D printed by me because these types of knobs just didn't fit over for some reason. I don't think there was enough of the knob protruding out, because this actually goes in a little, like you can see how far in my finger goes there. So I just 3D printed my own knobs and said to heck with it. These here are the Logitech SciTech FIP gauges, and I'm running the G5 software. I think it's payware, but I bought it, I downloaded it, I put it on them, and it works really well. I'm really happy with it. And now the tack here is, I built this myself, you know, fully functional. You can see as I throttle up, and we're parking brake set right now, but as I throttle up, you'll see my RPMs go up, and you'll also see my fuel flow changes too. It changes a lot more in the air, but it does work. So you saw my knobs. Now what is hard to see over here, let me see if I can get that light in on us here. See if this helps at all. What you can see, that panel with the coiled wire coming out of it is going to the back of my Honeycomb Alpha. Now my Honeycomb Alpha looks a little different than the factory Honeycomb Alpha. I'll take my tablet off and I'll show you. So my Honeycomb Alpha, I did a little work to. Now when I dismantled it, and I dismantled it way too far, by the way. I did bad things to my Honeycomb Alpha. I don't recommend you do it. I covered it with that same fake leather looking, whatever you want to call it. And the grip tape is just the grip tape from a baseball bat. Now, that right there allowed me to do some decent things. I'll say decent. It actually has a nice grip to it now. It feels decent, I'll say. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Alpha feels great on normal flights. You know, I mean, if you've used it as a controller, you can definitely tell it's not some cheap piece of plastic. It's a decent controller. Here you can see where I extended it. Now, if you ever want to extend the Alpha, directly back here, I don't know if you can see this part, so I get my finger on it, right here. That guy right there, not the cable, but that the flat black circular thing here. That's the only part you got to do. You pop that off. There's 2 screws at the top, and then you disconnect the Cat 5 from your Alpha, and that's it. That's all there is to it. I watched somebody's tutorial on YouTube about how to do it, and they dismantled the whole control. And when I did that, I just wasn't happy. There was no need. This here is just it's a yoke mount, but it's not one of the $50 or $75 ones. This is a cheesy Amazon 1995 one. And you can kind of see what I mounted it here, but I think this is 12 millimeter was too thin for this. So I threw some zip ties on, and then I put this over the zip ties. Basically gave it a little more girth to grab onto. Now as we come down here, and again, I'm going to be hiding these cables soon. What you see here is my parking brake. But my parking brake, and I will pause us so I don't run people over in the video game. And granted, it is a game and all, but don't want to do something crazy. So we're paused. We'll come down here and I will show you. Brake is off. Brake is on. Brake is off. Brake is on. I was going to make a more complicated handle, but I figured why. It does the job. Now we come over to here. I'm sorry, that was my hand. We come over to here. You can see this is the Aviation Training Foundation switch panel. Now my only complaint on this is the key, the actual fixture here. It'll move. If I go to start and I even tweak with any kind of force at all, the key will actually shift the whole assembly over and over and over. So every now and again, I find myself having to force it back. I may try to find a way to hard mount that so it never moves again. I don't know. Now I still need to make a fuse panel for right here. That's coming when I get my bigger 3D printer. Here we get to the center console, and let me illuminate my center console for you. That is the prop wash sim panel, the comm panel. There's their radio panel, and there's their autopilot. Their software is super simple. You launch it and you configure it. However, and I did a video on this where I mentioned how bad the connectors were on the back of these. No joke, those connectors will snap off on you and there's nothing you can do. They're so small, you are not soldering them unless you are 2M micro repair certified. And I was 2M certified years ago, but I don't have the equipment at the house to really do it. So there was no way I was going to be able to get the transponder panel back up and running. But autopilot's right there. The radio does work. And here we have the flight sim builder. Now the only quirk with this, and it's the quirk with any of the navigation type displays that you can add to a home cockpit, is you've got to go into the sim and then hit Alt and enter over that display to bring it here and then drag it in place. So it's a quirk at startup, but it's not bad. Here's the transponder. I did a video on the transponder previously. Huge fan of my transponder. I built this myself. Didn't look at any online videos or tutorials. Just kind of designed this on a 3D program, and these are knobs I had laying around. These are simple rotary encoders. This is a 5-position switch. Now, and on this one here, ident does work. Flaps. Now this switch started off life as an aviation training foundation switch. However, with theirs, it would give you each position, but if you went up, it went all the way up. So you did not get to retract individually on your flaps. Theirs automatically retracted flaps fully. Mine actually functions in the game. Now theirs also didn't have any indication with it. I built this myself, just using a servo. Now we get down to my trim wheel, which works. It's okay. I have no complaints with the trim wheel, but this is a simple rotary encoder, but it was very wobbly in here. So I actually took, I don't know if you may have seen these little round felt pads they put on like furniture so they don't scratch up your floor. Well, I cut 2 of those up and I put one on either side of the wheel. So the felt it's sticking onto the wheel on either side, and it's rubbing on the plastic here. So it gives it a very sturdy feel. It doesn't have any wiggle. Previously, this thing we just wiggle and free spin. Then we go down to here, and this now actually is correct. And here's my fuel cutoff, and that does work as well. Now those are my Cytec rudder pedals. I have had those Cytec pedals for going on, I don't know, 4 years now, and they are phenomenal. They're as good as the day I got them. I don't think I'll ever update them. I love them to death. So that's all the major hardware. Now you'll also see I tried to cover up the bezel there. That is a metal reflective tape that it actually has a backing on it, so you cut it to length and you peel the backing, and I put it on there, and it actually does a better job there than it does over there. But this side came out really good. Oh, and the other thing I didn't show you here, let me scoot down here, it's gonna be hard to see. You can see that little round fixture right there by the key. Let me bring this light down. That round fixture. Oh, there it is. This light is not helping us, is it? I threw it on the ground. I'm trying to get that light poised. You can see it there. That is a simple USB extender, but I hard mounted it to the sim itself. The top one is for my headphones, and it goes back to the computer. The bottom one actually just goes to a power outlet, and that's for my tablet in the cockpit. And right now the tablet I'm running is right here. This is an old, this is an old iPad, like a ridiculously old iPad. I got this used off of eBay for like $85. It's like a 5th generation iPad, I believe. And I believe it's 5th generation. Yeah, iPad, name, iPad 5th generation. Yep. So it is indeed a 5th generation iPad. But again, I got it for like 85 bucks on eBay. Works like a champ. I am replacing it though. I'm actually going to put an iPad mini here, just because this is, when you're here, your hands actually make contact on either side. So it's a little annoying. And it also blocks, like when you're sitting here, you're kind of right now at my eye level. I've got the phone right in front of my face and I look like a moron. But if I look down, I can't see some of my gauges here. I can't see my RPMs. So it blocks some of my vision. So I'm going to put the Mini in there to mitigate that as well. And lastly, I think, and this is, I say lastly, this is kind of a big one for me. I end up having to reposition myself all the time, you know, moving where I'm sitting in the cockpit a little bit just to make it feel right, to kind of get that perspective right. But that right there, in a nutshell, let's see if I can zip this camera around without turning anything off and crazy. So that right there in a nutshell is the whole home setup. I'm definitely going to do some longer videos, longer flights with it. I'll definitely edit those down though as well. And I'll only include the highlights in the videos. But I'm also going to do some night flights because I love the fact that I can, you know, control the illumination in the cockpit and on the panels. But that's just a quick tour. Once I get this all set up, I'll do a full tour of the outside as well, so you can see the cabling nightmare that I'm dressing up so it's not as bad. But again, thanks for watching. Any questions, comments, concerns, throw them below. Yeah, and you know, stay safe, and as always, happy flying out there.